The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head, premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere.
WS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is Out Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Never a dull moment in sports. Incredible. Good morning. Welcome in. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for making us your SEC football show of choice. Obviously, we're your Atlanta Braves show of choice, too. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Go Braves. Go Braves. We are powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. And presented by award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. DancingRabbitGolf.com. Book a stay and play. Enjoy the golf, the sports book, and Philip M's. And Mama M's. That's a lot. Mama M's is their new restaurant. Really, really cool. Got a great bar. Good bar and grill food. I highly recommend if you're in that area, especially my sales guys that roam around in the East Mississippi, West Alabama area. You can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at BoBounds, and our agup.com, AgUp Equipment. New name, Blake. agup.com, AgUp Equipment. John Deere tractors manage your land, and you can hit us up on the AgUp Equipment text line, 601-885-3776. 885-3776. And I like the way that game played out last night, Blake. The Atlanta Braves, my Atlanta Braves, obviously, win 6-2 over the Houston Astros.
Go Bravos.
I feel like, when I brag on the Braves that I'm taking a shot at Roy Oswalt, but I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not.
You're not. He doesn't play there anymore. I don't know if you're aware.
No, he doesn't play there anymore. He runs restaurants in Starkville.
That's right.
And, does cool stuff when you have a lot of money.
He comes into the show.
Yeah, we're right. We went to dinner, lunch, whatever.
That's right. Yeah, Los Bravos out to an early 1-0 lead, a win in Houston.
All right, tell them about my new favorite player.
Ozzie Albies that you just learned.
Ozzie
you just learned
Albies.
about.
I love this guy. I do. He's my new favorite player.
More than Pete Alonso?
Ooh, I can't cheat on Pete. No, right now it's Ozzie.
I understand.
One, he's got a cool name,
and he's in the World Series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Two, he's very athletic,
very talented.
Very talented. He's got a really cool batting stance.
He has a wild batting stance.
I love his batting stance, and the play that he made in the first inning last night with the bases loaded, and I was getting nervous.
Game changer.
I didn't really have time to be nervous on Tuesday night.
Mm-mm.
And so that play that he made, going to his left.
Yep. Deep in the grass.
Deep. His footwork, his athleticism, his balance, perfect throw to Freddie Freeman. I loved every bit of it.
Scoreless inning, it sets the tone, and the Braves move on.
He'd already done some work at the plate.
You got to do what you got to do, baby.
Okay.
You got to put the work in.
Right.
Everybody's got to step up.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably own an asphalt company in Houston by the end of the afternoon.
Hello.
So as they play in Houston again tonight, but all right, say his name again.
Ozzie Albies. Albies, depending on your...
Yeah, I was about to say because I was listening to Joe... Okay.
It depends on where you're from.
Yeah. I love him.
He's fantastic.
He's my new... I like Austin Riley a lot.
Oh, I get it. Who had an RBI single, by the way, the second inning.
And I was happy for him because he struck out with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
Early.
Yes.
In his first at-bat. That happens. That dude was... Even though he got ripped up early, that guy was throwing some nasty stuff. Valdez or whatever his name was.
They all throw nasty
stuff. Yeah, no kidding. But Albies is my new dude.
Yeah.
So I'm getting his jersey.
There you go.
And I don't know. We may get some other stuff.
I have a bobblehead of him from when he was with the Braves.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's in my house.
Will you bring it up here? It may give him good luck.
I can see. I have to find it. It's in my collection somewhere.
Okay.
He's bunting in his.
Did you
bobblehead.
call his games?
No.
Oh,
not that I remember. I don't think so. He's already. I don't think so.
He wears number 1.
Yes, he did not in minor league baseball.
Okay.
The one negative coming out of that for Atlanta, Charlie Morton broke his fibula.
I saw that.
And he pitched. Can you imagine throwing 16 pitches on a broken leg? I can't imagine walking on a broken leg, let alone
I broke my ankle in Brookhaven one time and played the rest of the game.
Proud of you.
Yeah. So, but
You're
no.
Superstar.
Well, somebody's got to do it. I wasn't sure if it was broken or sprained. So, Mississippi Sports Medicine the next day told me.
They figured it out for you. There you go.
I did not diagnose myself during the game. What do you think? Is Albies...
Dude, whenever you have someone like Ronald
He's
Acuna,
only 24, by the way.
They have a great young team. Whenever you have someone like Ronald Acuna Jr., leave your team. You know, it's like if we saw it with Ole Miss when they had some big guys go down. You have to have guys step up in baseball. It's 9 guys. I mean, you have to have someone else.
Right. It's 8 guys.
Pitcher
rotates.
Well, yeah, but
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, you got to have somebody step up at the plate or in the field or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Ozzie has done that for Atlanta. He's been fantastic.
This guy's a legend.
Yeah,
he's from Caraco.
Look, if they pull off the World Series, he will be one of a few legends on this Atlanta Braves team.
No doubt. I mean, there's 6 games left.
Yep.
We got to win 3.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You know.
It's a good start. Hey, you can't win 4 until you win 1, right?
That's
so
right.
You got to win the first one.
Right. So we got tonight's game. And hold on, tonight's Wednesday night. Yeah.
That's correct. They play at 7:09.
Okay,
First
cool.
pitch, same time.
In Houston. All right. Go Braves.
Go Braves.
And go Ozzie. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, powered by MississippiSportsMedicine.com. Want to welcome you in, say good morning. We've also got another story here that's brewing, and it's got a little blank in it. So Blake Topmeyer, it's not Blake Scott. I thought it was Blake. I was like, dang, he's writing for USA Today.
Moonlighting.
And he's doing sports talk radio and sports marketing.
I'd be the most well-versed USA Today employee.
Well, that's true because they don't, they're still traditional journos. But anyway, here's the deal. The title of this article in the USA Today, or not in, usatoday.com, I guess. Like I have the paper. Mike Leach, Brian. Can you imagine if we walked up every morning in the breezeway and had
USA Today dropped off?
That'd be funny.
No, I'd rather spend my money by throwing it down the gutter.
Okay. Mike Leach, Brian Harsin. For our listeners, Brian Harsin is the Auburn head coach. Mike Leach, Brian Harsin invite distraction by keeping COVID vaccination status private. And Blake Topmeyer walks you through an article here talking about how neither man has offered up whether or not they're vaxxed. And the IHL voted under pressure from the Biden administration earlier in the week, which is incredibly unfortunate, that schools in the state of Mississippi are requiring employees to provide proof of vaccination by December 8th. Except in limited circumstances that legally entitle an employee to a medical or religious exemption. This is going to get real. It already is, actually. You see people on social media platforms post when they've been given a medical or religious exemption for the vax. By the way, I'm pro-vax, totally anti this, federal pressure
mandate
on states, right, to basically yank their funding to public universities if their college boards or IHLs or whatever you want to call them do not vote to require their employees to get vaxxed by a certain time. Here in the state of Mississippi right now, we'll see if Governor Tate Reeves sues like the governor of the state of Alabama. But it was voted on by the IHL 9-3 in favor. And that the only reason, and they reversed course from last month, and the reason why is because of the federal funding, not because they believe this is right. More on that on the other side. Big board coming up next. Buckle up. This is an interesting topic. Good morning. Welcome in on a Wednesday.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
What's on the big board?
Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, powered by MississippiSportsMedicine.com. Want to welcome you in and say good morning. Atlanta Braves 6, Houston Astros dose. So the Braves are up 1-0. Best of 7, right? First 1 to 4. Here we go. Another game tonight in Houston. Then 3, we think, in Atlanta. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Those tickets are outrageous in Atlanta.
Insane.
Atlanta really hasn't been that good of a sports market. I get there's a lot of sports fans, but it's so transient. You've had so many people move in from other parts of the country the last 40 years. I just don't know if I've ever really considered them great Falcons or Braves fans, but...
Oh, I think they're diehard fans. I think they have
Hawks.
Little success. That's the problem.
Well, the Braves have won big for years.
Well, they won one World Series 20 years ago.
Well, that's still good.
I agree, but look at recent history. The Braves have kind of after that stretch of insane dominance that will never be replicated.
Right.
They've kind of been up and down, back and forth. They've had some issues. They've had some off-the-field issues with different management. The Falcons blew the 28-3 lead and proceeded to become one of the worst teams in NFL over the last few years. The Hawks have lost their way for 4 decades. It's been a tough... And then you add in Georgia, who can't get over the hump. It's tough being a Georgia sports fan.
Yeah.
State of Georgia hadn't had a lot of champions.
Well...
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know the Georgia Bulldogs have let them down. They have a baseball championship in 1990 and a football championship in 1980.
How sad was it that for 3 decades you had to say Georgia had a baseball championship and State didn't?
I used to say that on the air, and it did not land well. Did not land well. But
didn't make you famous at the Christmas party?
I don't think I'm going to get any of the postcards that a lot of people get. Oh, well. That ship sailed back in 2005 when I unleashed the beast, so to speak. All right, so this Mike Leach article, we'll see. For those who did, I think most of you know, the IHL voted a couple of days ago 9-3, and university employees will have to show proof of vaccination by December 8th, except, Blake, those that can receive a medical or religious exemption.
So it's interesting that that's there.
Exemption.
Washington State head coach Nick Rolovich, and I know nobody cares about Washington State, but just for this conversation, Nick Rolovich claimed a religious exemption for his COVID-19 vaccine at Washington State.
Yeah.
Washington State said, we don't care. We're moving on. That's in league. Rolovich and his attorneys are trying to legally go through the nonsense. I don't think he's trying to get his job back, but get
just
money.
Probably get all his pay, whatever he's owed.
Yes, because I think they fired him and didn't want to all that nonsense.
Okay.
It will be
Hopefully
interesting.
He wins.
It will be interesting to see if Mike Leach or Brian Harsin, who are in Sunbelt states, were to claim a religious exemption. How that would
medical.
How would that be handled by those two schools in a much different climate than what obviously Washington State and their board of trustees and all that handle up there?
Yeah, that's a good point. We're here in the Sun Belt.
It's totally different
The
environment.
Alabama governor has already come out and said that she'll fight it.
It wouldn't be surprising to me if Tate Reeves did the same thing.
Yeah, we'll see what Governor Reeves does or doesn't do. I don't know. Obviously, the IHL's hand was forced through Washington, D.C. politics. That's unfortunate.
It's not the first time either. Let's not
it's a
pretend.
terrible precedent to set. And again, I can be pro-vax and absolutely against this kind of whatever you want to call it, mandates.
Yeah.
And it's strong-arming. I mean, you're holding federal money from the public universities.
And who does that hurt? It doesn't hurt Mike Leach.
No.
It doesn't hurt John
Mississippi
Cohen.
State's engineering school.
It hurts Ole Miss's
or
law school or whatever, med school, right? Yeah.
And Mississippi State does more research expenditures than anybody else in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
And when you combine the other 7 universities, Mississippi State does double what they do. Because it is the monster in R&D, which is really what you want this day and age.
So, yeah, I mean, and Auburn's the same. I mean, Auburn's right there with
when you
them.
look at the ag and the engineering and the sciences, Mississippi State does over $200 million a year.
Yeah. So it's let's take it from this perspective. So we're going to find out December 8th what Leach's decision is, right? Or maybe before, but we'll know by then.
Maybe it hinges on a win or a loss in the battle for the golden egg.
He wins the golden egg and then rides off into the sunset.
And decides, I've already made a ton of money, I'm out.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do, and by the way, Mike Leach may be vaxxed. I have no idea. He just hasn't told anybody, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But if you want to tell people, great. I mean, there are a lot of people that run around with, buttons on about it. Maybe we may even see yard art, going forward for the holidays. But let's ask our listeners, do you agree with the federal strong-arming mandate that is making states, college boards, and institute of higher learning, or whatever they call it in each state, to vote on requiring employees to provide proof of vaccination by a certain date?
Yeah.
The Ag Up Equipment text line is 601-885-3776. Be interesting to see which way this thing goes in the midterms a year from now. But that's a long time.
Can I ask it from this perspective?
You kind of feel like this thing, even though we've been in, bogged down with this for 18 months, handled it poorly, public health officials have totally botched it. You feel like this will burn off?
I think history shows us everything burns off, right?
Yeah.
We are a society of the next story, and social media has made those stories shorter and shorter.
Right.
So this is one of the rare things that has think back over the last 10 to 15 years. What storyline has taken this much bandwidth for this long a period? Almost nothing. I mean, literally almost nothing has lasted to the length of this. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. I do think that eventually we will continue to move forward out of it. Okay. Let me ask you from
especially
this...
Especially if 99.8% of the population...
Notice we're not even arguing about that stuff anymore, right?
Will either recover or not know they had it.
Yeah, that stuff's not even brought up anymore. They're on to a different tactic.
Right.
Let me ask it from this perspective. Let's say Mike Leach, for whether he is or is not vaccinated, whatever it is, let's say he decides, I don't want to deal with this. I've made enough money. I'm 62 years old, 61, whatever it is.
Right.
I'm out. December. I'm out after this season. What a position does that put John Cohen in?
Terrible. Because
third head coach hire in 4 years?
Fourth. Well, fourth coach.
Yeah.
Mullen, Moorhead, Leach, whoever. Yeah.
Moorhead started 2018.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I see where you're going.
Moorhead started 2018.
Right.
By 2022, you'd have coach number 3.
Right.
I mean, that is crippling your football department. Correct? I mean, I'm not overreacting, right?
Well, if it goes to that,
that's what
I'm not overreacting.
I'm asking if we get to that.
You are going to have some in the fan base that think that it's good because they don't believe that Leach can win and get this done. Those are the people who don't get it. They're because if you flip the building again, that's what I like to call it. You know that. Yeah. If you flip the building again, you'll set yourself back
10 years.
Oh, it's you're already trying to get up and running with everything that you have. If you flip the building again, you may as well, it's going to be tough. So, interesting article, usatoday.com. The title of the article, Mike Leach, Brian Harsin, invite distraction by keeping COVID vaccination status private. I'm okay with them keeping it private. Things changed when the federal mandate came down. and the college boards had to vote to push the envelope to continue to receive federal funding, including grants and many, many other things, Blake. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. The Ag Up Equipment text line, 601-885-3776. We'll give you the guest lineup next. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
Hey guys, listen up.
This is the SC Insider Hit, powered by Miss Kelly Furniture, Mississippi's number one sleep store.
Yeah. The text line is on fire. And kind of like my favorite player, Ozzy Albies.
I thought you were going to say my ninth grade fastball. I didn't.
Can I say Albies?
Sure, you can say whatever you want.
How do you say it?
Albies.
Albies.
Ozzy
Okay.
Albies.
Albies.
Albies, something like
Albies. I felt like Joe Buck was giving a little owl in it. What?
might
I
have.
had to go back.
that. You'll get a chance to hear it tonight.
There we go. Ozzy Albies. All right. Matt just dropped off how many jerseys?
3. Shout out to listener Matt from Madison. He dropped off an Albies jersey, a Dansby Swanson, Vanderbilt superstar, first overall pick. Dropped his jersey off, and an Acuna jersey. He showered us with some Brave stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Good
Matt.
listener.
I think it looked like he may have been a baseball coach for
Yes,
St. Joe.
for St. Joe. That's right. He had
So,
a Bruins jersey on.
He's gung ho, but I love that he dropped off a few jerseys. I forgot that we have the Ronald Acuna jersey here that I'm going to wear.
From Pete Lavin. Yeah, that's right.
So
the
when we
Braves.
roll the cameras at 8:15 and we interview Steve Robertson, I'm going to have the Ronald Acuna jersey on
Elite.
because I'm a big jersey guy.
Nobody brings the heat like this show does.
Well, there's no question.
No doubt.
There's no doubt about it. Speaking of, this is the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Welcome in. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed the World Series game one last night as the Atlanta Braves beat the Houston Astros 6-1. What would you think our Braves fan base looks like, Blake, as far as listeners?
Like how many percentage of listeners are Braves fans?
Yeah.
Any baseball fan in this area is most likely a Braves fan.
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered over my 30 years of life.
I think you're spot on.
There's always the displaced guy. You know, you get the occasional like San Francisco Giants fan or somebody who liked the Dodgers or the Yankees, you know, a bigger name. There are a surprising number of Cardinals fans, which is interesting. But I guess it's because they've been such a great franchise for so long.
And you could get Cardinals games on the radio 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And so men and women, I guess, but as kids would stay up at night, listen to the Cardinals play baseball.
There's also a fair amount of Cubs fans.
I can't remember that radio station out of St. Louis, the AM that you could get down here.
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
You weren't?
Not then. But I know there's also Cubs fans because of WGN.
No doubt.
And you get the Cubs broadcast.
TBS, WGN,
and there's
Cardinals.
a great tie between Jackson and Chicago in terms of there's a lot of families that are in both places. That, we've got a lot of connection there. So
that's true.
So yeah, I think Braves are number one far and away, a la the Saints, you know, in football.
KMOX. That's pretty strong from Brian on the Ag Up Equipment text line. KMOX.
That was quick.
Was the I'm going to do the Google during the break and check out the history behind. I wonder if that was where Harry Carey called games before Joe Buck's dad maybe called games, because Harry Carey moved from the Cardinals to the Cubs, right? So that had to be decades and decades ago. I think I have that right. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. The show, the SEC Insider Hit this morning, is brought to you by the Purple Mattress at Muskelly Sleep Store. It's American-made. The Purple Mattress is American-made. It's a mattress that reduces pressure, instantly adapts, and the Purple Mattress doesn't trap heat. You can find it at any of the Miskelly locations, Miskelly Sleep Store, Miskelly Furniture. I've been sleeping on one for 4 months. It's amazing. Dr. V was going to join us yesterday in studio. This man is busy. He had to go, you know how Miskelly's now statewide. He had to go to another store, and he's coming back in. We're hoping that he'll join us next week. We'll talk recovery and health, which goes along with, a lot of the stuff that we do. So the Purple Mattress at Miskelly Sleep Store. Try it out this week. You'll love it. You will. It's awesome. Okay, Out of Bounds 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Somebody asked me, yes, I do think that Mike Leach is vaxxed. I'm just going through what the article presented to us and scenarios that could play out. Obviously, Mike Leach has not shared that, and I'm okay with that too. And I'm pro-vax and super-duper anti the federal mandate that made the College Board in the state of Mississippi this week, the IHL, vote 9-3 to require proof of vaccination from university employees by December 8th. So there, we'll put that to bed for now. We may jump back into it a little bit later. We'll have Steve Robertson join the show at 8:15. At 9:15, Terry Sullivan, general manager of Fondren Fitness, will stop by, speaking of health, recovery, fitness. And then at 9:30, we'll have Michael Katz, Ole Miss Insider, djournal.com. Most of you know Steve's with 247 Sports. All of them will join us on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. Let's get into Ben Brown and Joe Lee Dunn. So Ben Brown is one of the exceptional offensive linemen for Ole Miss that had played 40 straight games. This is why Ole Miss has been doing what they've been doing the last 2 years. You walked into an offensive line that had played a lot and now has played even more. Bunch of juniors and seniors, and we've talked about the generational QB and talent in Matt Corral. Ben Brown is out for the season. That's a loss. He has been he's been an unbelievable player for the Ole Miss Rebels.
40 starts on the O-line is
40 starts.
That's what you want. You need continuity because those guys, that's a chemistry thing.
Yeah.
For O-linemen. That's a huge loss.
It is a huge loss. And I want to say Ben's from Vicksburg, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. Another wonderful town in the state of Mississippi, but I think he is from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I don't know if he was from Warren Central or Vicksburg or one of the smaller, what am I trying to say, parochial schools, Blake?
Yes, I think that's the word you're looking for.
Saint something over there.
He went to St. Aloysius.
All right, St. Aloysius. There we go. Ben Brown is from the great town of Vicksburg, Mississippi. He's a heck of a player, all SEC lineman. He's out for the year. That's a blow for Ole Miss. Now, I don't know who they've got, behind him, and they may configure it. Lane fired his offensive line coach in May. They didn't miss a beat. Yeah. They do whatever they want on the ground, and they do whatever they want on the air, and they kind of pick their poison depending on what you're doing.
But firing an offensive line coach is not the same as getting rid of a 40-start O-lineman midseason.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Not to discredit any O-line coach, but like the guy who's blocking is who is more important, right?
Yeah. Joe Lee Dunn. Joe Lee Dunn passed away, and Joe Lee Dunn coached at both Ole Miss and Mississippi State and had success. In fact, he was the interim head coach for 1 year for the Ole Miss Rebels before moving over to Jackie Sherrill's staff and having a lot of success in 97, 98, 99, and 2000. But prior to that, he had Dwayne Dotson, Cassius Ware, Gary Abide, among several others at Ole Miss in the early 90s as a defensive coordinator. He was a guy who people loved. And players loved playing for him. He made defense fun. And Blake, he kind of believed in the hybrid model. We talk about the flex tight end, the hybrid guys that can play. Jimmy Johnson taking guys that can play, have a lot of flexibility, and can play all around the field, right? And Joe Lee Dunn did that. And he had some awesome defenses, was a heck of a coach. and then went on to coach for several years before retiring. And he passed away. He didn't wear socks. He was always looked a little, he wasn't worried about his shirt being tucked in. He definitely didn't. If I had to guess, Joe Lee Dunn owned maybe 3 ties. And he was from a generation where men dressed up a lot.
Yeah. He looked like he was always one beer away from headed to the lake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's no doubt. He was the beer, chips, and Rotel guy.
Smoot always
at the picnic table.
Yeah, Smoot always talked about how he'd be coaching without his socks on the sideline and stuff. It's just funny.
And I'll never forget one of the quotes that what year was this? I think 1999, somebody shared a quote with me talking about how Joe Lee Dunn hated spring practice. And he said, I make my team in August.
That's
in
amazing.
other words, he just did not, he got some Mike Leach in him, did not, some of the stuff, the year-round calendar, I think Joe Lee thought was nonsense. And but had a lot of success, was a character, and coached at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, among many other schools, and Arkansas, and so on. And Joe Lee Dunn passed away. Yes, I saw some of the Facebook posts from people that coached with him or played under him, and, man, they were good. Some great tributes. I'm sure we'll see more today, but there were some wonderful tributes last night from people who were around Joe Lee Dunn in some capacity.
Seems like the kind of guy who would both flourish and make ADs nervous in the social media era.
In this era, yeah, but I will say this. He didn't care about recruiting, so he wasn't going to get caught up in some kind of third-party flesh peddler stuff.
Yeah.
But, man, if you brought him some dudes, he could make – I think of one player that really jumps out at me is – no, 2. I'm going to give you 2.
Okay.
2 guys that Joe Lee could make it happen for these 2 guys that other coaches, I think, could have looked at and said, they don't quite fit.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Nelson, who is a dog safety, if you will, from Georgia. I think he's one of Jim Tompkins' many, many Georgia guys that Jim brought in over 15 years as an assistant at Mississippi State. Why they killed that pipeline, I'll never know, but Sylvester Croom did that. And Ashley Cooper. Do you remember Ashley? You were young.
I do.
Ashley Cooper was a phenomenal athlete. And then those early Rebels defenses that I was referencing, Cassius Ware was one of my favorite players, Dwayne Dotson. I saw Gary Abide lift a man over his head one night in 1993.
That's funny.
I was in Oxford. What was that bar down Highway 6? It was like 15 minutes towards Batesville. Somebody help me here. Text line is 601-885-3776. About 15 minutes away from Oxford towards Batesville. And Gary Abide lifted a person over his head like it was a cold Miller Lite.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Joe Lee was
he had traps like coming out of his ears, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, Joe Lee was the defensive coordinator at 4 current SEC schools.
Okay, let me guess.
I was about to ask you name them all.
Arkansas.
Okay.
Ole Miss.
Yep.
Mississippi State.
One more.
South Carolina?
That's it.
How did I pull that? Do you have the list up?
I do.
Can you give me the years?
Yeah, so his first stint in the now SEC, 1987 to 88, he was the DC at South Carolina.
Okay, they weren't in the league yet, but they became a member in 92.
Got it. And then he was at Ole Miss from 92 to 94. The 94
That's
season.
That's it?
Well, the 94 season, he was the pseudo head coach.
Right.
Yeah. And then he was at Arkansas in 95.
Okay.
And then he was at Mississippi State from 96 to 02.
96 to 02.
In 3 seasons, he coached at Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Mississippi State.
That's awesome.
That's elite.
That's awesome. What a character.
Yeah.
No socks, a little bit of a pot belly. His
little
hair,
bit, yeah.
He didn't care. He was always rubbing his belly. That was one of his plays. And then he'd rub the top of his head, and Ashley Cooper would then do something cool, and boom. I forgot about Ed Smith. That's right. I think Ed Smith was Ed Smith was the 25th player signed in one of Cheryl's classes out of California. Who knows who found him? And Blake, he didn't quite look, again, he was kind of built like a square. And so he didn't look, like the prototypical perfect, whatever. And he played dog safety too for Joe Lee Dunn.
Joe Lee looks like every football coach south of the Mason-Dixon I've ever seen.
Yes.
He is.
We talk about barbecue Look, we talk about, we all know the guys that when they smash a barbecue sandwich, they have to get a good bit of it on their shirt, and they don't care. I mean, they get a little bit on their cat. They've got some on their fingers. They're going to rub their khaki. Not worried one bit about it. Joe Lee Dunn was that guy.
You know who he reminds me of?
What?
He was this guy before this guy was around.
Go Hogs. Yes, sir.
They look like they could be cousins.
No question.
They look like they could be cousins.
Joe Lee Dunn and Sam Pittman are exactly what we think of when we think of Southern football coaches.
Football guy.
Yeah.
I'm a football guy.
Yeah. And
that's awesome, man.
It is. He had a wonderful career. And it's kind of cool that he coached and had success. This is cool. He coached and had success at both places, both Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And I'd forgotten that he was at South Carolina in the 80s. Right. I guess South Carolina was they weren't in the ACC, were they, when they came over? What was it, the Metro? Like Southern Miss Florida State? I can't remember. Anyway. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Good morning. Welcome in.
They were independent.
Hope you're doing well. Hey, the bar that I was trying to remember, the name of it is the Turning Point. That's where Gary Abide lifted someone over his head one night. Oh, God, I just thought about it. It may have been my buddy. That was a hazy night. But I'll have to ask Stephen if that was him. It was great, though. He was there Gary Abide was there was it Wednesday night that was kind of the night to go? I don't know how he pulled that off because he was a good player. Well, I say that. I mean, when guys are 21 years old, super great in shape, you can go out.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I was about to say, SEC baseball players play a Friday night game, and either on Friday or Saturday night, they go out and, drink a bunch of beers and then come back and play a baseball game.
Yeah, and you better not tell them about it either because they'll let you know. Where does Joe Lee rank among Mississippi, and I say Mississippi as in guys who coached at State or Ole Miss, defensive coordinators?
Up there. He ranks way up there.
Yeah. His attacking kind of, as you said, variable scheme.
He made it fun.
Well, and he was a little bit more he was more versatile than defenses were around that time.
Yeah.
Most defenses were a 4-2 or a 4-3 or sometimes even a 5-2. Exactly. Exactly. Like there was very little movement, schematic, like changing with like how you line. There were stunts, but you lined up the same way every time.
Absolutely.
And Joe Lee didn't do that.
No.
And so that was unique.
He moved people around.
Correct.
And that was just,
it was unique
let's just
for
be
the
honest,
time.
That was unheard of.
Yeah.
Like Cassius Ware, I mean, it just didn't. You nailed it, Blake. I mean, everybody lined up. I remember when I was playing, everybody lined up at the same place every time. It was
every time. And it was just, can your man beat that man? That was all it was. It wasn't, you didn't scheme up, let's scheme it where this linebacker comes off a stunt and is wide open on a blitz. You just didn't do that.
Right.
Joe Lee did.
Cassius Ware, Ed Smith, Pig Prather, Tim Nelson, Ashley Cooper. I mean, there were a bunch of dudes that he believed in moving around and leveraging their athleticism, even though they may not have been 6'2", 220 pounds and looked like the perfect linebacker at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, linebackers look different today than they did, right? Because
they used to look like defensive linemen.
Right.
Yeah.
We ask our linebackers now to cover people and to try to chase space, and it's extremely difficult.
Hey, go cover Elijah Moore in the slot,
I mean,
please.
playing linebacker in the phone booth for years, I don't mean to be mean, just wasn't as difficult.
No.
I mean, you prepped all week for, just a few plays coming at you.
Middle linebackers covered
and
a 10-yard.
And they were all between the tackles.
I was going to say they covered a 10-yard square.
Right.
That was all a middle linebacker ever had to do prior to 2005, right? So, yeah. So who else would you put in that Joe Lee Dunn category for defensive coordinators around where does he go?
Well, the last 10 years, State and Ole Miss don't keep anybody because everybody gets paid this day and age. Joe Lee was still part of the last piece of. I'm not saying he didn't get some money, but like Arnett and DJ Durkin are both making over $1.2 million or whatever it is. I mean, that's absurd, right? I mean, Jackie Sherrill wasn't making $1.2 million. Tommy Tuberville wasn't as a head coach. So we're not going to get that stretch of like a 6-year defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I thought Womack did a great job for Freeze, considering what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Sherrill had, let me go through the 80s. Wasn't Jim Carmody a defensive coordinator before becoming a head coach? I think so. But not a lot of them jump out at me, Blake, to be honest with you.
No, I'm with you. Bob Shoop, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, but he was there for 2 years.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
Shoop that was the best thing Joe Moorhead did.
Correct. It's the only good thing.
I mean, he hired Bob Shoop, and Bob Shoop is a good defensive coordinator. But we're not going to see guys stay 6-7 years.
Yeah.
There's too much money, and the expectations are, if you're not, super duper, we just fire you now.
Yeah. It's what
Whereas you could have like 2 average seasons
and
in
you were
the
still
70s, 80s,
you were
90s.
still okay, yeah.
You could keep your gig, and then you could come back and try to have even a pretty good season and continue to be employed.
Yeah.
That's over now.
That's why it's so interesting Venables has stayed at Clemson. And
now he's making over $2 million.
And Bud Foster at Virginia Tech is another longevity guy that I think about.
But he started during the Joe Lee Dunn era.
Correct.
That I'm talking about.
Correct.
And for whatever reason, he just either never got a shot or never got the job that he wanted to lead Blacksburg.
Yeah.
Mickey Andrews did the same thing at Florida State under Bobby Bowden.
Yep.
That's not happening.
It's a different
He was
era.
there for like 20-something years as the DC.
Yep.
I want to say Tom Osborne had some assistants that stayed with him a long time. Joe Paul, we know about all
that.
Yeah. That's just not going to happen anymore, Blake.
No.
There's too much. Everybody's a free agent.
Yeah. Well, you're either getting poached or getting fired, right? There's very little winning and not going anywhere.
I mean, Crime Dog McGriff, Wesley McGriff became a multimillionaire at Ole Miss to be not just average,
below
but
average.
way, way below average defensive coordinator because the money is so big and large this day and age in the Southeastern Conference. In the 90s, Mississippi State and Ole Miss were still very, very cash-strapped. Today, Keith Carter and John Cohen enjoy a totally different world than Pete Boone and Larry Templeton.
No doubt.
No doubt. So it's just, when you're getting $58 million before you even do anything.
Yeah. You don't open the door once, you get $58 million.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's going to go to 65 and 85 million before you know it.
You add Texas and Oklahoma, it's going to be even bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good question. I'm sure Johnny Vaught had a legendary assistant or assistants.
Do you put Carl Torbush up there?
Not really.
Okay.
But I mean, no.
I'm just curious. I was just
he was with Dan for 1 year. Did he coach at Ole Miss?
Yes.
Was he under Brewer?
Wesley Walls.
Wesley Walls was a player.
I know. That's who he coached.
Oh, well, then that was in the late 80s.
Yeah.
That meant he was with Brewer. I mean, I think Torbush is a good coach. I'm not sure.
I was just asking.
I put him in the... Although Ole Miss had the 90 team went to the Gator, the 88 team beat Bama. About every third year, Brewer would put together a more than salty football team. I mean, Brewer had no budget, right? I mean, he had no money. That place was broke in 1988. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the Purple Mattress at Muskelly Sleep Store. Want to say good morning. Welcome in. This is 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Steve Robertson stops by at 8:15 on the Out of Bounds Show. Back in a sec.